This video is to go over Web Design Chapter 1 in our HTML and CSS book. In this book, we are going to learn how to create a website using HTML and CSS. Before we look at the code used to build websites, though, it is important to consider the different ways in which people access the web and clarify some terminology. So first of all, browsers. People access websites using software called web browsers. Popular examples would include Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari, Chrome, and Opera. My favorite is Chrome. I like that it saves everything and works well with my Google account. Also, when we work throughout this book, it's best to view your websites in Chrome rather than Firefox or Internet Explorer. There will be a few times things will not work in the other browsers, but they will work in Chrome. When you ask your browser for a web page, the request is sent across the internet to a special computer known as a web server, which hosts the website. Web servers are special computers that are constantly connected to the internet and are optimized to send web pages out to people who request them. Some big companies run their own web servers, but it is more common to use the services of a web hosting company who charge a fee to host your site. People are accessing websites on an increasing range of devices. This could include desktop computers, laptops, tablets, and mobile phones. This is important to remember and to pay attention to when we build websites, because our websites will look different on a desktop computer than it will on someone's small smartphone screen. Lastly, on this page, we have screen readers. These are programs that read out the contents of computer screens to a user. They are commonly used by people with visual impairments. Throughout this book, you will see several references to screen readers. These notes will help ensure the sites you create are accessible to people who use such software. All websites use HTML and CSS, but content management systems, blogging software, and e-commerce platforms often add a few more technologies to the mix. Small websites are often written using HTML and CSS, which is what we will start off using in this class, and then we will switch later to using Dreamweaver and Flash and Fireworks, which are Adobe softwares. When you visit a website, the web server hosting that site could be anywhere in the world. In order for you to find the location of the web server, your browser will first connect to a domain name system server. So on the right side of the screen, you can see examples that demonstrate how the web server hosts the website you are visiting and how it can be anywhere in the world. On this example, the first step when you connect to the web, you do so via Internet Service Provider or ISP. You type a domain name or web address into your browser to visit a site, for example, google.com. Second, your computer contacts a network of servers called domain name system servers. These act like phone books. They tell you your computer the IP address associated with the requested domain name. An IP address is a number of up to 12 digits separated by periods or full stops. Every device connected to the web has a unique IP address. It is like the phone number for that computer. And the third step, the unique number that the DNS server returns to your computer allows your browser to contact the web server that hosts the website you requested. A web server is a computer that is constantly connected to the web and is set up especially to send web pages to users. And the last one, the web server then sends the page you requested back to your web browser. In our first chapter, we are going to understand structure, we will learn about markup, and then we will also learn about tags and elements. Think about the stories you read in a newspaper. For each story, there will be a headline, some text, and possibly some images. If the article is a long piece, there may be subheadings that split the story into separate sections or quotes from those involved. Structure helps readers understand the stories in the newspaper. You could also think of something such as an insurance form, which will often have headings for different sections, and each section contains a list of questions with areas for you to fill in and details and checkboxes to tick as well. So even viewed online or in paper, all of these different types of documents will have a structure set up to how the page flows using different headings. The use of headings and subheadings in any document often reflects a hierarchy of information. For example, a document might start with a large heading, followed by an introduction or the most important information. For this website example, you can see the HTML code on this page, which has blue tags and then it has text in between it. So this HTML code is made up of characters that live inside angled brackets. These are also called HTML elements. Elements are usually made up of two tags, which has an opening and a closing tag. The closing tag will have an extra / in it. Each HTML element tells the browser something about the information that sits between its opening and its closing tags. So let's take a closer look at the different tags we have from that code on the previous page. So we have our HTML tag up here, the opening, and on the bottom we have the closing one. The opening tag indicates that anything between it and the closing tag is HTML code, and the closing tag just indicates that it's the end of the HTML code. We have a body tag, the opening one on top, and the bottom one, which has our / before it. The body tag indicates that anything between it and the closing body tag should be shown inside the main browser window. Next, we will have some different headings depending on what you want your web page to look at. We have H1 and the closing H1 next to it. Words between the H1 and closing H1 tag are a main heading. We have a paragraph tag, which just has a P. The paragraph of text to appear between these P tags, the P, and then this one should have a / that was an error on the books part. We have a subheading as well. There are 6 different types of headings. They go H1, H2, all the way down to H6, with H1 being the largest and H6 being the smallest. And we have another paragraph tag and also another heading as well. Tags, they act like containers. They tell you something about the information that lies between their opening and closing tags. Let's take a closer look at a tag. So this would be a paragraph tag. We have the opening tag, which has the left angle bracket, and then we have the right angle bracket, and in between it we have our character. The character in brackets indicates the tag's purpose. So this one is P, which stands for paragraph. The closing tag will have a / before the character to indicate that it is the closing tag. Anything between these two tags will appear in a paragraph formation. Attributes provide additional information about the contents of an element. They appear on the opening tag of the element and are made up of 2 parts, which is the name and a value separated by an equal sign. So our attribute name lang, and it says equals ENUS. What this means is it's just telling us that the language is in English, also United States English. The other one on the right side here would be the language, FR, would be that this language will be in French. The attribute name indicates what kind of extra information you are supplying about the element's content. It should be written in lowercase. The value is the information or setting for the attribute, and it should be placed in double quotes. Different attributes can have different values. Having an attribute called lang is used to indicate the language used in this element. The value of the attribute on this page specifies it is in US English. Most attribute values are either predefined or follow a stipulated format as well. They're not something that we will use with HTML code very much, but it is something that's easier to use once we switch to Adobe Dreamweaver later in this semester. There is a separate video I made in order for you to make the website on page 27. To go over the different tags, though, we have the body tag. Everything inside this element is shown inside the main browser window. We have our head section as well. This will appear before the body element. It will contain information about the page rather than information that is shown within the main part of the browser. We would usually find the title element inside of our head element. And the title, that will either be shown at the top of the browser, above where you usually type in the URL of the web page you want to visit, or on the tab for that page, if your browser uses tabs. You can see what the web page will look like on the right side. This one here is using an Apple computer, so it will look different depending on what browser you are using. You may know that HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. The hypertext part refers to the fact that HTML allows you to create links that allows visitors to move from one page to another quickly and easily. A markup language allows you to annotate text, and these annotations provide additional meaning to the contents of a document. If you think of a web page, we add code around the original text we want to display, and the browser then uses the code to display the page correctly. So the tags we add are the markup. Page 29 and 30 go over how to create a web page on a PC, and I go over this in the video for creating your website on page 20 using that code there. But when using a PC, we will use the program called Notepad. If you happen to use a Mac computer, the program you want to use is going to call TextEdit. There are other ones available online as well, but I recommend using Notepad like I do using a PC, which is assigned to you from the school. No matter what program you are using, you need to add the file extension .html to your file in order to open it and view it in your web page. When the web was first taking off, one of the most common ways to learn about HTML and discover new tips and techniques was to look at the source code that made up web pages. You have the option to do this in your browser. The easiest way to do this is you can right-click in Chrome on any web page, and then you can click View Source. Other ways you can do it, you can click the View menu in your browser and select the option that says Source or View Source. So it might just depend on the type of a browser that you are using. So to summarize Chapter 1, HTML pages are text documents. HTML uses tags, characters that sit inside angled brackets, to give the information they surround special meaning. Tags are often referred to as elements. Tags usually come in pairs. The opening tag denotes the start of a piece of content. The closing tag denotes the end. Opening tags can carry attributes, which can tell us more about the content of the element. Attributes require a name and a value. And to learn HTML, you need to know what tags are available for you to use, what they can do, and where they can go. Make sure you check out my other videos where I explain how to create your first websites using HTML code.